Hello everyone, welcome to the AngularJS video on Intellipaat. AngularJS is a JavaScript-based front-end development framework which is used to build single-page applications in HTML, JavaScript and a superset of JavaScript called TypeScript. Now, before we discuss today's agenda, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon. Now, let's start with the agenda points. First, we'll start with single-page application, that is SPA. Then we'll move to Angular versions, Angular versus React, and then to components and features of TypeScript.
So the very first question which should come in your mind should be, what is Angular all about? So Angular is nothing but it's a JavaScript framework which allows you to create reactive single-page applications. Moreover, Angular is written in TypeScript. Now both the keywords are completely new for you. Single page application and the TypeScript. Let us understand these two keywords first, then we'll talk about Angular again. So what is SPA? SPA stands for single page application. A web application or a website that interacts with the user by dynamically rewriting the current page rather than loading entire new pages from a server. That is what known as a single page web application. One of the best examples could be Gmail for you. Now obviously if I am talking about something called a single page, there should be something known as multiple page. Yes, we have the other applications are nothing but the multiple page. So there are two diagrams. One is representing traditional page lifecycle or the multiple page application. Another one is indicating as single page application website or the lifecycle. So we have a client, we have a server. So I'm talking about first the multi-page application or traditional page lifecycle. Client is going to request to the server, hey server, get me this, get me this website, say abc.com. Server is going to give the response back. Further, client is going to do something, some or the other thing, get me all the employee details or something else. So the request goes to the server and server is going to send all together a new HTML page. So for every kind of request, altogether new response comes in a form of new HTML page. So every time the new page is going to be loaded, right? So that's how this kind of traditional page lifecycle or the multiple page, every time we are going to get a new page, right? So we are putting more load on the server, or what we are doing, we are decreasing the performance of your application in a way by making it as a multi-page applications. So before Angular or before other JavaScript frameworks like React and all, which are used to create the single page application, we used to suffer a lot all because of this multi-page application architecture. Now, when we have this SPA or a single page application lifecycle, in this scenario, for the very first time when the client is requesting, he is going to get the HTML page as a response. But next time onwards, he won't be getting the entire page, only the partial part of the page is going to be rewritten. So that is what it says, a website that interacts with the user by dynamically rewriting the current page rather than loading entire new pages from a server. So that is what known as the single page application. Angular is something which is going to create the single page application for you, and as it says, Gmail is the best example wherein you can experience the same thing, single page application criteria. Whether you move from inbox to sent item or anything else, only the partial part of the page is going to be updated every time, not the entire page. So this is what SPA. Let us talk about the other keyword known as the what is TypeScript all about. We all are familiar with JavaScript, and TypeScript is nothing but JavaScript plus some additional features. Next is TypeScript is a strongly typed, object-oriented and the compiled language. So the moment when I say it is a strongly typed, it is nothing but whenever we are creating a variable, it is going to tell, you can define there itself what should be the data type of that variable. Object-oriented means it is going to follow all those concepts like abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance. Compiled language is nothing but we know JavaScript is the interpreted language, whereas TypeScript is the compiled language. The meaning is nothing but even though if you make any syntactical mistake, immediately you will get to know what is the error. So this was just an overview. Anyways, TypeScript we are going to talk in more detail in the upcoming videos. This was just an overview about the same. So let us check out the prerequisite before we start with Angular. You should be aware what is HTML all about. You should be aware what is CSS, DOM, and the JavaScript. So if you have the basic knowledge of all these 4 things, you are all set to go with Angular. So let us start the same. So Angular is further categorized into 2. One is known as AngularJS, another one is just Angular. So AngularJS, only one version we have it there, Angular 1. Whereas in case of Angular, we have the versions which starts from 2, further it is moved to 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is what the latest version which is running in the current date. Now both are completely different to each other. This is what known as AngularJS, this is just Angular. So you can check out here, after Angular 1 they have done the complete rewrite to create the Angular. Okay, so this is what not really related to Angular 2+. AngularJS is not really related to Angular 2+, whereas in case of Angular, we have the incremental improvements, no complete rewrites. Okay, so if you want to move, suppose if you have an application from in Angular 1 and further you want to move to Angular, so you have to rewrite entire your code. Whereas if you are moving from one version to another version between 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, they are just some here and there improvements, no need to do complete rewrite. So that is the main difference between AngularJS and Angular in terms of versions. But obviously in the next slide I'm going to talk about the difference between the features of AngularJS versus Angular. So now onwards, if I say anything called as only Angular, so the meaning is we are talking about between 2 to 4. If we are saying AngularJS, it is only just one version which is known as Angular 1. And in this video or in this tutorial series, we are going to learn Angular 7. Okay, so check out here AngularJS versus Angular. The official website for both is also different. For AngularJS, it is angularjs.org, whereas for Angular, it is just angular.io. This is what your AngularJS. Check out here, try the new Angular, download AngularJS. This is only for AngularJS. And the other one is angular.io, which is from Angular 2 till Angular 7. Yeah, so the current version which is running as Angular 7. So here everything, it's very much well documented. You can anytime you can visit the website and find out what is Angular all about and check out the tutorial and all. And I hope you remember I told Angular is written on TypeScript. Now we'll talk about the differences between AngularJS and Angular. The very first difference as we saw is the website difference. Next is architecture of AngularJS is based on MVC or MVW. The meaning is it is based on model view controller or model view, whatever we say there. Whereas the architecture of Angular uses a hierarchy of components as its primary architectural characteristics. The meaning is in case of AngularJS, we are going to talk about the model view controller. Whereas in case of Angular, we are going to create many components. Only the component is going to decide what to be displayed in the browser or what to be rendered in the browser. Okay. AngularJS uses terms of scope and controller, while Angular uses a hierarchy of components and directives. So as I said earlier also, it is AngularJS is completely made up on using controller scope concept, whereas in case of Angular, we are going to create multiple components, multiple directives, templates, many other things. So once we start with Angular, you will get a fair idea. Angular is based on TypeScript while AngularJS is based on JavaScript. So that is also one of the major difference. Whenever we are writing Angular code, we are going to write more TypeScript code, whereas in AngularJS, we are just writing the JavaScript code. So by making this also, we are, TypeScript, we know, right? It's as we have already seen, it is JavaScript plus some additional features. And moreover, TypeScript supports all the ES6 features, which is nothing but ECMAScript 2015, the latest JavaScript features. So there is a very less possibility to upgrade from Angular 1 to 2. Mainly developers have to rewrite the entire application code. So someone is asking you, to upgrade the version from 1 to 2 or 1 to 7, something like that, you have to rewrite entire code. There is no other way from moving from Angular 1 to Angular 2. So this is what the differences between AngularJS and Angular. Now the next question can come in your mind, which one to choose, right? So it depends. You should ask few questions. What libraries would you like to choose? Are they compatible with Angular or are they compatible with AngularJS? So based upon that, you have to take a call. Moreover, the very important question, what web browsers we want to support. If you choose only new browser, then I'll recommend you go with Angular, because in case of Angular, as we are using TypeScript there, so it is going to support all the JavaScript new features which are going to be supported in all the latest version of the browsers. Whereas if you are, if you have a plan to work on the older versions of browser like IE8 and all, I'll recommend you go with AngularJS. So you need to take a call before you start, which Angular you are going to use. Next, I'm going to talk about Angular versus React or the other JavaScript framework. See, React is also something which is going to create a single page applications for you. So let us check out the difference between Angular and React. First of all, Angular is created by Google, whereas the React is created by Facebook. So in Facebook is also single page application, and who is taking care of it? There they have used a front-end framework as React. Technology type, as I said, in case of Angular, it is all based upon component and using TypeScript. Whereas in this scenario, they are still using JavaScript, user interface library with a component-based architecture using JavaScript. Data binding, it is supported two-way data binding, whereas it is a one-way data binding. Two-way data binding meaning is very simple. Whenever I am making changes, whenever we make any changes in the view, automatically it should be, saved or reflected in the model. Similarly, model here is nothing but component. Similarly, if I make any changes in the component, those changes should be immediately reflected in the view. Size quite large, and since it needs to be shipped to the client side, it increases the initial load time. So initially when you start your application, it is going to take little bit more time, whereas in case of React, it is small in size, especially when compared with Angular. Learning curve quite steep given the number of features and options you have in Angular. So that you will also get to know. We have many features in Angular. So that's the reason compared to React, it is quite slow. It is easy to pick up and learn in case of React. Simplicity, it is quite complex because as I said, there are many features, and this one is fairly simple but takes some time to set up a project and configure everything. So this was all about the difference between Angular versus React. And here we just learned about the overview of Angular, what is Angular all about, the differences between the different versions of Angular, difference between AngularJS versus Angular, and the difference between other frameworks like React with Angular. I'm going to talk about the basic architecture of any Angular application. So the moment I talk about basic architecture, actually Angular is made up of very important two things. One is module, another one is component. So let us first talk about what is module. So module is nothing but it is a JavaScript code, or it can be a TypeScript code which is going to have variable functions, classes, and further you are going to import, export. So here also module stands for the same. Module in Angular refers to a place where you can group the components, directive, pipes, and services which are related to the application. So module, in a way, it is just a .ts or .js file which is going to have all those things. But in actually what module contains in terms of Angular, it contains components, directives, pipes, services, all those things, and wherein component is a very important key player in terms of Angular. Every Angular application has at least one module which is root module, and by convention it is app module, and it resides inside the app.module.ts. Every Angular application should have at least one module whose name is app module, which is there inside one of your TypeScript file. So why TypeScript? Because we know Angular is completely written using TypeScript files itself. So that's the reason we say if you want to learn Angular, the prerequisite is TypeScript. Okay, so module is nothing but you can think with this scenario, we are going to create multiple modules. Along with this app module, we are going to have multiple modules, and each module are going to interact to each other using import, export. Right? So say suppose this is user module, this is admin module, and they are going to interact to each other using import, export. and the top module is going to be nothing but app module. So the top module for any Angular application is app module, and inside module we are going to have multiple components, services, directives, many other things. But as of now, only module on component we are going to concentrate. The next thing is what is component. Major part of the development is going to be done inside the components. Components control the portion of the view in the browser. Using component, we are going to decide what is going to be displayed in the browser. They are again the classes, again the .ts files that interact with the .html file of the component which gets displayed on the browser. So each component is going to have a corresponding HTML file, and component is going to decide what is going to be displayed in the browser. Last is every Angular application has at least one component which is root component, and by convention it is app component. So again, like for module, we have seen it is a app module is a root module. For component, the root component name is app component. And again, it is resides inside the app.component.ts. Okay, so I'll be showing you once I create a Hello World application using Angular, there I'll be showing you all those app module and the app component. Now the component is, as I said, it is nothing but it is a .class file which is going to have your TypeScript code, right? Classes, methods, everything. And then it is going to have a template wherein we are going to tell, what should be displayed in the browser, right? And this is some metadata which is going to give some extra information, decorator and all. So we'll be talking about this metadata very soon. Can we have multiple components? Yes, we can relate multiple components together. So for that, we should have one root component which is attached to a component 1, component 2, component 3. So we can have multiple components concepts also in our Angular application. To summarize the architecture, what we learned here as Angular application contains one or more modules, wherein the root module name is app module, which reside inside the app.module.ts. Second point is every module is going to have one or more component, and whichever component reside inside the app module, that root component name is something called as app component. And then further, that app component can contain multiple components further. Next is component is the one which is going to have it's a .ts file. Module as well as component, they both have the .ts files. It is going to have the HTML template plus class to control the logic to the particular view. So it is going to have your normal JavaScript class wherein we are going to tell what should be displayed in this template. The last is services. There's something called services also in terms of Angular which contains a business logic. Finally, modules are going to interact with each other and render view in the browser. So before I move to TypeScript, let me talk about what is JavaScript. So it is kind of a quick recap on JavaScript. JavaScript is nothing but it is introduced as a language for the client side. So generally we used to use this JavaScript as a client side language. For the validation purpose we use it, so that we are reducing the overhead on the server. Next, in the last few years, after Node.js has come into the market, Node.js internally is using JavaScript. What is Node.js? Node.js is nothing but it is generally used to create the server-side web applications. So as Node.js is using JavaScript, so now onwards JavaScript can be used as in client-side as well as the server-side technology too. Now, the JavaScript, if I just tell you the definition of that, it is an interpreted and a loosely typed language. So these are kind of drawbacks in terms of JavaScript. So the moment I talk about the interpreted keywords, so interpreted meaning is nothing but as in when you are writing your JavaScript code and suppose you made a mistake, you won't get to know until unless you don't run your code, you won't get to know. So that is kind of a drawback. You are going to spend more hours to find out where is the bug. Next is nothing but the loosely typed language. So the moment I talk about the loosely typed language, the meaning here is whenever we are declaring any variable in terms of JavaScript, what do we say? We just say var and the variable name. Now the data type of that variable name is going to be decided based upon what value you have assigned. So that's the reason it is known as a loosely typed language. So these are kind of two drawbacks which we have seen in JavaScript, and that's the reason we have a TypeScript. So TypeScript is nothing but it is going to be presented to overcome the drawbacks. Along with the overcoming the drawbacks, it is having some additional features. Obviously, we are going to see them soon. So in short, what is TypeScript? TypeScript is JavaScript plus some additional features. TypeScript is JavaScript plus some additional features. Next is TypeScript is a strongly typed, like if you remember in the previous slide I showed you, JavaScript is loosely typed. It is a complete 100% object-oriented language. Moreover, it is a compiled language. So the problem we saw in JavaScript, it was interpreted. Until unless I don't run or execute my code, you won't get to know. Here, as it's a compiled language, as in when you are making any mistake, immediately you can see that. So I'll be showing you the examples also. This is what official website of TypeScript. It is www.typescriptlang.org. So anytime you can visit it. Next, let me talk about the features of TypeScript. As we saw in the previous diagram, TypeScript is nothing but JavaScript plus some additional features. So TypeScript is just JavaScript code. So the meaning is, whenever you are creating any JavaScript files with the .js extension, you can simply rename them as a .ts. As TypeScript is nothing but is a JavaScript code. Next, TypeScript supports other JS libraries. The meaning is here very simple. All the TypeScript files are going to be converted into .js files. So once it gets converted into .js files, so all the JS libraries, it is going to be supported. Next, JavaScript files can be renamed as TypeScript. So as I told here, all the .js files can be renamed as a .ts. So what is TS? It stands for TS is nothing but the TypeScript extension, TypeScript file extension. So you can rename your .js into .ts, but remember the vice versa is not true. So I cannot say .ts. I cannot say something like, if I have created a TypeScript file with a .tx extension which is having the TypeScript code, I cannot rename it to .js. I hope it makes sense. Next, TypeScript is very much portable. The meaning is, as TypeScript and at end of the day, it is a JavaScript plus some additional feature. So JavaScript, as we know, it is completely portable. Similarly, TypeScript is also portable. You can run your TypeScript code in any of the browser or any of the OS. Let us talk about the benefits. As I already told, it supports the object-oriented programming. So the moment I talk about the object-oriented programming, obviously all your 4 pillars like encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, they are going to come into the picture. And obviously how to create classes, object using TypeScript. Next, this is very important. This is known as a transpiler or the TypeScript compiler. As I already told, your TypeScript files are going to be converted into .js files. So who is going to do this compiler known as the transpiler? So the transpiler is going to convert your .ts into .js files. As I already told, it is a strongly typed language. So this is how we declare a variable in case of TypeScript. See here, var str:string equal to 1 to 3. So str is nothing but our variable name. So while declaring itself, I am telling the data type of it is going to be a string. And the moment I write here 1, 2, 3, it is going to give me the compile time error, as this is a number and here I am telling the data type is a string. So it is a strongly typed language as well as the compiled language also. So these are kind of benefits of TypeScript. That's it, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat provides full stack web development course in collaboration with ENICT IIT Guwahati. The course link of which is given in the description below.